Friday night, San Francisco General Hospital. Dr. Labella was on duty. The trauma ward was empty that night, but then the red lights of the ambulance came in. A patient about 250 pounds, male, Hispanic, came in with a simple laceration wound to the abdomen. He wasn't feeling good, he was in a lot of pain. We laid him out in the emergency table. It looked like a simple cauterize and seal operation. There wasn't much blood, just a little fat, just looked like a 1-inch tear to the abdomen. But suddenly, after they did the vital signs, the blood pressure dropped, the patient passed out, and the patient stopped breathing. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a simple device that could have saved this man's life, because this man came this close to dying. Only the unbelievable odds of 3 people jumping on top of him and sealing his aorta that was bleeding from a samurai sword that was stuck through him. Saved his life. But there was a simple device that they could have brought to this hospital. So simple, and could have prevented this almost deadly accident. Months later, in Michigan, Detroit's St. John's Hospital, trauma ward, day after day, patients would come in and the nurses would dress them for surgery. They would put a 4-foot catheter into the core of their body. They would dress them with a paper that would keep them from getting infected. They would dress any wounds with antiseptic. They would go through the items. And yet 30% of the times, 30% of the times, people would get an infection. This same simple device, when used a year later, cut down the infections over 80%, saved the hospital $175 million, and saved 1,500 lives. This simple device. In 1939, Boeing came out with the ultimate airplane, the Flying Fortress. It was a bomber that could carry 5 to 8 times more bombs than the competitors. Test pilot took off on that runway to take it up into the sky, to show all of the people on the ground what a great and wonderful plane this is. The plane took off, 4 engines, roaring through the sky, got 300 feet in the air, turned to the right, and crashed into a ball of flame. Of the 5 people on board, only 3 survived. Yet this same simple device, used in that same plane a year later, after they had scrapped it, only when someone with enough intelligence to bring in this simple device was able to resurrect Boeing from almost bankruptcy and take this plane into one of the most used planes in World War II. This simple device, ladies and gentlemen, revolutionized a Toastmasters club that I was in Temecula. This simple device allowed this Toastmasters club to get 30% more speeches, table topics, and evaluations done in an hour. It's so simple that even know if I should tell you because I don't. I don't think you'll believe me. But I know something. I know something. If I take this device, because I happen to have 3 of them here. If I take this device and I hand it to our evaluators, who are our evaluators here? There's one here. And who's our other evaluator? You see, the device I'm talking about is a simple checklist. A simple checklist that saved thousands of people, that allow huge skyscrapers, more complex than any one person can know, to be built day after day, month after month. It helps people fly airplanes like the one in 1939 that were so complicated that not one person had enough intelligence to be able to fly them. A simple checklist allows doctors to be able to check off all the things that doctors routinely miss 30% of the time when they try to do them from memory. A simple checklist. There's a new book out by Adv called The Checklist Manifesto. I've been reading this book and I found all this information to be unbelievable. And when you actually think about it, we can use that simple checklist here in Toastmasters. In the Temecula Toastmaster Club, we have an hour to put on a meeting like this. 3 speeches, 3 table topics, 3 evaluations. For years, we would go through the usual parameter of explaining to our guests, one after one, of each job in the club. We would tell people about the timer, the timing rules. We would tell them about evaluators. We would tell them all the things, all the procedures that went along. One day, when I was the Toastmaster, I was giving the usual procedure to the group, and unfortunately, I didn't have a checklist. I didn't have an agenda that told me step by step what to do. And you know what? I forgot to have everybody go around the room and spend 10 minutes talking about their jobs. And you know what? That day was the first day we got in 3 speeches, 3 table topics, and 3 evaluations. And we determined after that, by a little brief and by an evaluation that I was crazy and I'd forgotten the part of the meeting, that if we wrote down all those jobs and put them on the back of our usual checklist, we would tell people to look on the back and this is how the meeting proceeds. Obviously in a club like this with an hour and a half, we have time to do those things. But with an hour, we did. We put them on the back, we turned it over, and we took 1 minute to tell everybody, here's how the meeting's run. And from then on, we were able to get all 9 items in each time. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that you can have a scintillating experience. One that will save lives, make planes fly, build skyscrapers, and make your Toastmasters meeting run better. A simple checklist.